Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome. It's another Friday again. We're here. It's a blessing to be here. Outside is, it is freezing, but it's all good. We have to give thanks and, give praises for life and praises for the moment that we are here. This very, very moment. And welcome, everyone. It's Friday again. We're here on the Naked Truth and basically giving it to you just the way it is. And the series that we're talking about is basically based on the Bible and the truth about the book or the writings. That's what we're trying to clarify here. So we're breaking it down week by week. It's, as I said, it's an abundant amount of information that you have to really kind of go through it with a fine teeth comb and just try to figure out what is there. There's so many things that's been hidden, missing, deliberately taken out of the book. And this is why we're here trying to put the pieces together, reading, because someone came along and decided they want to change everything. They want to change history. They want to change time. To fit themselves in. The latecomers. I'll call them the latecomers, right? So it was good. Last week was pretty much good. We were able to sit and talk to you guys about different things, different parts of the scripture. There were a lot of questions, which was very interesting. That you guys, came in and asked your question and try to satisfy the curious mind. That's why we're here, right? To kind of share information and to have a open dialogue where people can, we can come and discuss that which is truth and try to resolve some of the mystery, right? And the lies. Put back things in their right perspective. That's basically what we're here for to do, to make sure everything goes back into the perspective where what we don't want. It's a lot of lies and deception, as you know it. We've been tricked. Our ancestors been tricked, and they've been fed, with a terrible spoon, man. I mean, they've been fed with this spoon, with poison, all kind of different things, arsenic, lies, all of these things they were fed to let them to believe something else. I mean, this was a process. If you understand it, it was a process to put a people through, right? And gradually, when you have nothing to hold on to, when you grew up, during that time, the language wasn't great. It wasn't great. The communication skill wasn't high enough because it was limited based on the information that we got. And if you're confined in an environment where you're only getting just a small amount of information, how could you excel yourself out of that? So the more people there, ideas are shared between these people. So but before, when a small group of people, is less less words to use for communication, especially you're forced to abandon your language and to adopt a new language where you didn't know. And not that you didn't know it as an adult, but your kids would have grown up knowing it by hearing small pieces of it, so they wouldn't fully. You understand? They would say that you're a fool because you wasn't fully, assimilated within that group. Only thing you hear when master said, "Yo, come here, boy," and you do this, and this is what the child would have heard, and so his vocabulary would be limited. So they would, for them to classify, people as fools or the Africans as fool, based on you taking them out of their environment and put them in another one and denying them of, or learning their language. So communication would have been, on that level. their language was denied, not to use, and you had to learn the other language. And on top of learning that, then they turn around and say that you're a fool because you have to learn their recipe. And if you're incapable to learn their recipe, but they can't learn your recipe, right? And if they can't learn it, means that they're not fools, right? And you understand the reverse psychology that they use, right? So we've been lied to a lot. And as it comes down to the book, as I've shown you this book over and over again, when it comes down to this Bible, you know, a lot of people take it for face value. As I said, you cannot. You cannot. You have to read this diligently. And I'm talking about people, who are interested, people who have that connection with the spiritual, people who wants to know about the Creator and have a love for the Creator and the creation. They who want to find the truth about themselves have to read this very, very carefully. Not taking words from others, but do your own studies, do your own research, work, dedicate yourself to it. Don't expect that you're going to learn everything because you didn't put any time into it. Don't expect that you're going to be wealthy and you're going to be rich when you didn't work for anything. Like it's just going to fall into your lap, So you have to put your time, do your due diligence, try to figure out what's here. And as I said, it's been translated. There are a lot of things that changed. There are a lot of things that were put in it. You have to figure that out, that it's not what they say or what they try to tell you. And you have to understand where the history came from. And if the new rulers are the people that are in power now who are ruling were never there before when this information was even concepted. In the conception of this, the information, these people weren't there. So they have no attachment to the history. You understand? They're fabricating the history to put themselves in it, which they don't belong in it. Do you understand? So you have to understand why this would have been perverted, right? The information would be perverted because the people who are ruling today are not ancient people, or neither do they connected with the ancient people, right? And the ancient people, their descendants still exist today, but they're under subjugation. So as I show you the Bible each and every time, and the book speaks volume, right? So we can't ignore that. You know what I mean? We can't ignore this. This is why we have to take our time to read and understand it. Everything rotates around the people who wrote this information, prior to the translation. You all right? The translation it can be altered because people are telling a different story. It's like, someone, if an accident happened down the road and everybody would come with a different explanation of what happened, right? It won't be the same. People are going to talk about things in the way that they see it, right? So that would be your truth. So if you were there and you saw the accident, and you would explain the accident in your words, right? If another person was there and they saw that accident as well, they would express it in their words. So if you take 10 people to witness the very same thing and you put them in different rooms and ask them what happened, they're going to express it, I guess, based on their understanding, based on their vocabulary, how limited or unlimited it might be. This is how they would express what took place using their language, whatever words they could use to, give understanding to what they saw. So this is why when the information that was given to a particular person, right, it would have been the truth information, the truth about this information would have been presented to this person in its full context, right? And that's what it would have been. It would have been, okay, this is what I say. That would have been the information that the person has. And if it's written down, right, on a piece of paper or a scroll, it would have been the same thing repeated over and over. It would never change, right? Because the only weakness that would have been there when the person got the information would have been the people, right, that are there who can probably give some kind of clarity to what took place. But if you weren't there, then the information that is written down would have been the information that the person who was there, who saw the incident, would have documented. Okay, well, this is what I saw in their words. That would have been the truth if nobody else was there. right? That would have been and would be the truth about what took place or what transpired there. So there is a difference. The information that was given to a particular group of people and another group came in who have no connection with this information, no connection with these people, or neither culturally, by language or art, nothing. They have no connection. So you find there is a confliction between when the story has been told in another forum, right? You'll understand now why the story has been changed and why the names have been changed from the ancient people. How could you change the names of the ancient people when the name relate to their language? You're changing these things because there is a purpose for it, right? There is an agenda behind, their actions, why they're doing this. Or they would have honored the people and said, well, these were the people who were there. But it's very hard for them to do that, right? Why? Because they know who the people are. They know about their history. They know that they stole, their history and culture and a lot of other things. How could you give credit to them now? You can't. It's impossible. The lie already spiraled out of control. And they don't seem to how to get back. How do we get back to this? If we could have turned the hands of time around and changed, how could we, how to do this now? You know what I mean? It's very simple to understand what's going on here within this modern society and the people that are ruling today, the ruling power today. You have to understand why they would have they've been biased and hateful toward the other group that is the original man, the original people, right? You'd have to understand that why they would have done these things, right? You grew up in a home, a huge, mansion, right? Beautiful home, riches, wealth, you have everything. As a child, you grew up. You don't know how your parents come about this home. Maybe your parents tell you a story that they got it from their great grandfather, whatever story they may tell you, right? Because they don't want to tell you the truth. We don't know how they obtain this property, but they have it. And you as a child growing up in this environment would think that this is my parents. My parents have a house and they're rich. How did they come by their wealth? You don't know. They've never shared this with you. You're a child, you're young, you don't know what's going on. They're not relating any information to you based on how they obtain their wealth, right? Now, maybe the property was stolen, right? And the people that used to live there got killed and it was taken over by your parents. You don't know that, right? But as you become an adult, you begin to realize that what your parents said, they even die without telling you the truth. But now you're realizing after, your parents passed away and now you inherit what they left behind. But actually this house that you're living and the wealth that you have don't belong to you, right? But you know that. You grew up, thinking that's who you are. You're privileged. You live above the average person in the society. You have seen the way that the average person's been treated outside, and you wouldn't want to be treated this way. Now you found out that the house that you're living in and that you inherit was a stolen property. And the people that owned the house before were murdered and they were all killed. And now you have this inheritance and you know of the descendants of these people. Whoever escaped, you know them. You know who they are. Now, your parents is not there anymore. They didn't tell you how they come by the house, but you've learned how they got it. What would you do? Would you return the house and say, okay, well, I don't want to partake in this? Or you're going to say, well, you know what? See, no, an honest person, right, who would understand it and say, you know what, I don't want to partake in this. This bloodshed and inherit this way my parents did was wrong. And they would have done that. That's what an honest and a good person would do. But a evil person would think in the moment, right? In this moment, they would say, you know what? Why should I give back this house? Nobody knows except for me. you know. So you know what? I'm going to just create lies around this to keep this the way that it is. So you begin to spread more lies on top of what your parents left, right? And add more lies to this. This is what happened in this society and the Western Hemisphere, Europe, and all around. The lies wasn't necessarily taught by some of the parents, but the children who were brought up within this, within this environment, begin to understand that the environment that they're living, there is something wrong with it. But instead of fixing it, honestly, they continue to say, you know what, why should we give it? Just keep lying. And this is what happens. So they keep lying and adding lies, and they didn't tell their children either. They lied to their own children. So, there's no redemption for a race of people like that. Do you understand? Even in your dying bed, you did something wrong within this earth. You should relate those information to before you passed on. Relate them to, to whomever. You know that you offended some people. So, you know what? I'm going to relate this information because this information is very important to me. So let me relate this information to my children and let them know that what I've done was wrong and now I'm passing off on the earth. I don't want to leave anybody calling wrong things about. So let me clear my conscience. They don't do that, right? So you find this lies or the lies has been covered up and keep piling and piling on top of each other and piling and piling and piling, and it's just not fitting into what they're saying. So there's always question raised around it because it's a lie, it's fabricated, it's not real, right? So there will always be questioned around it because you can't wipe the truth away completely. You understand me? As Bob Marley, that song said, 3,000, 4,000 years of history cannot be wiped away so easily, right? So you can't wipe it away. I mean, he's saying 4,000 or 300 years of history, but it's far more history than that. You cannot hide it. How long are you going to hide this? The people didn't die out. They didn't extinct. The people that you subjugate, their descendants still exist. And this information is written in their DNA. You have to understand that the generation will come who don't need to even encounter those things, right? To understand themselves or to even learn about the things that their ancestors did to identify them. They're going to realize because it's in them. So there's a generation that will be born with this information who already woke to the idea and the identity of who they are. This is where the change is coming. You cannot stop it because there's someone behind everything. There's a great power, which is the Almighty, behind everything. You just have a time to reign and you cannot go beyond that time. Like, okay, you run and this is the end of the road for you. Whatever you want, whatever lust, whatever greed fill your heart, this is the end of the road for you. You can't go beyond that. So you could fight, you could kill yourself, do whatever you want, try to kill the people that the promise is going to go to. You cannot stop it. Nobody could stop it. So we understand this is why the lie is becoming. We talk about the inferiority complex is where the problem lies because people cannot accept themselves or who they are. This is why you find problems between male and female. The female feel that she is weaker than the male and she's striving for control over the male that is stronger, the male that is dominant, the male that is doing more than what she's doing. They want to have that position. This is the problem, the conflict between the two groups. It's the same thing between white, what you call white to the Europeans, and the melanated people. This is the problem, right? Inferiority complex create this idea. You can't, on a level playing field, compete with the people that were here long before you. It's going to be difficult for you to do so. So what do? You have to keep them out. Now that you have power, keep them out of what you're doing, right? Tarnish their reputation, their name, and have the other groups of people that look like you believing what you're saying. So your own people have been deceiving you. A lot of you out there, your own people have been lying to you and deceiving you all along. You understand me? To preserve their superiority or so-called superiority, I want to say, because in fact you can't be superior if you are a cat and you're not a lion. You cannot be superior than the lion. It means that even you have control over the lion for a period of time, you're still not superior than him. because the lion is more stronger. It's more forceful than you. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you have control and whether you can deceive people and tell them, well, I'm the strongest. You could write book about your ancestors and how great and strong they were. You could fabricate history. You could fabricate any amount of story that you want, that give premise to your, your rise, your abilities. Lions say your genetics because you have the resource, you have the information, you have control of the information to feed to the public, and you can tell them anything you want, that your DNA is connected to this and it's connected to that. You're able to manipulate people and tell them all kind of things, but the information that you're showing is not actually true, is it? You will be telling them, well, yeah, my DNA, and we could trace myself back to here, to there. But yet when you're reading history, and I'm telling you, the history, just the little history that we get, you understand me? And the evidence that we find in these history, doesn't add up to what you're saying. And the reality, without the books, just the reality of looking at life, right, doesn't add up for any of them. It doesn't fit. None of it, fit. So when you look at this, you have to ask yourself, so what's really going on then? Because none of this information, fits anything that's happening here. You understand? And we can see the truth by looking at it. We don't need book to tell you what is and what is not. We could see with your own eyes. You can see this and understand that there is something wrong. Something is very wrong with what's going on here. So we have to learn the truth when we're talking. And this is why we talk about the naked truth. This program is to highlight a lot of these things, the things that makes people uncomfortable, the things that people don't want to talk about because nobody wants to say it, because the society has programmed you a certain way to feel like, oh my, I can't say this because it's a disrespect. So we live in the lies, just like the Bible say, the spirit of the truth, which the world would never accept, and the world can't, and they won't accept it because they don't live by the truth. So it's only lies here. Do you understand? So it's kind of it's a very strange thing when we talk about Bible and trying to understand the truth, and not to just swallow everything that was given to us, as a lot of people, do. Especially, and I must say this, especially Christian, because they keep perpetuating this. They're carrying this evil mantle, passing it down to their generation and corrupting our people more. And it's surprising that the African people, you understand me, who have been here become so brainwashed and believe that they're educated and smart enough. And let's talk about smart and intelligence based on academia. They feel they have to go through the white loop in order for them to be truly represented. They have lost completely, even though they maintain their language, but they're completely lost. I've seen a video where this white guy who looked like the picture that this Jesus picture, right? These men are walking the street saying Jesus, Jesus. This is how dark, this is how dark these people are. And when I say dark, I mean, there's no shred of light in them to see the truth about what took place. They still have this comforting believing in Europe and the white race, as if the white race is their savior. They don't even know their origin and how great their people were, because this history was taken from them. They were lied to, they were conquered, they were forced into many different things. Many things were forced upon them to change them. Luckily, the Most High preserve his people. That even when they went there and tried to change everything, the people still maintained their language. Even though they were, they encountered a lot of things. But for them in this modern era to sit and have these ideologies about no Africans, and I'm saying this clearly, no African on the continent within Africa should be talking about their Christians or anything to do with Christianity. And I'm talking about within the diaspora as well. Should be saying anything or accepting the idea of being Christians. This is something that you should reject and know. How could you not know what this religion did to you? And the purpose of this religion was to change your identity and to take away your spirituality. How could you not know this? You haven't seen this yet. Because you're practicing something doesn't align with your spirituality. Don't. Someone came with this idea, you understand me, to trick you. To trick you so you won't believe in your spirituality and do the things that your ancestors did and are capable of doing because they're afraid of you. They're afraid of you holding on to your spirituality because your spirituality will enlighten you. You're going to be enlightened. Holding on to your spirituality, you'll be more enlightened about your identity and who you are. So we have to create a blockage, that blockage, to prevent you from seeing the things you are using your spiritual mind or your spiritual consciousness. You can't use your spiritual consciousness anymore because it is blocked. It is blocked, right? It is blocked by these people who knew about you and knew your capabilities and know how, like about, the so-called Superman, right? And that kryptonite is something that weakens him. You know what it is. So what you do, every now and then you feed him just a little teaspoon of kryptonite, and this is going to slowly deteriorate his ability